Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and GreenSunsZenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey, hope you're enjoying the content. A huge thank you as well just to my patrons quickly, not only those who currently support me, but those who've been part of the Zenith in the past. It's a pretty phenomenal feeling to be supported by other players, not just in the Maverick or Legacy sphere, but those who just enjoy Magic content. My content will never be behind a paywall, and these patrons allow that to continue to happen. You may have also noticed I've stopped adding ads during my YouTube videos, and that's not just a quality choice, but also a direct outcome of having people support me through platforms like Patreon, doing a nation deck list. So a huge thank you to you. I love what I do. I love being a community member of the Maverick and even Depths communities, the wider Legacy community in general, and it's a privilege. So thank you. All right, let's get back into it. Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with a co-stream, this time looking at Turbo Depths with, I'm going to say, Legacy YouTuber, CrucibleofWords. Hey Cyrus, a huge thank you for coming on board. Would you categorize yourself as a Legacy YouTuber?
Yeah, do 5 Legacy videos a week, nothing else, so that's fair enough.
Yes, and I have seen that you have played, obviously, decks other than Turbo Depths, but it seems like it's one of your pet decks.
Yeah, I play this deck. Most weeks I'll play, like, this is one of my leagues, but maybe once every 2 weeks in terms of videos I release, and I have, like, a big guide to this deck that updates every month on my Patreon as well, so I'm really, really into the Turbo Depths.
Very cool. Turbo Depths is a deck that doesn't see too much play online. I think it's criminally underrated and underplayed, but for those Dark Depths fans, there's definitely been a lot of lands. There's been a lot of sort of the more mid-range build with like Abzan and Naya Depths, but yeah, Turbo Depths you don't see a whole lot of. Do you think there's a reason for that, or do you think it's maybe hard for the majority of players to move away from something that's more mid-rangey with like a plan B than kind of a more all-in deck?
I think the deck isn't very forgiving, which is kind of why a lot of people shy away from it sometimes, because any single mistake you make with the deck is probably going to be the end of the game for you. Whereas when you're playing like a landsy deck, you have a little bit more wiggle room because you're trying to play a longer game. Your decisions don't necessarily impact as abruptly. Like, you can certainly make a decision that's wrong and then pull yourself out of it. We don't have that luxury.
Yeah, that's very true.
So,
I think it's a great deck to learn with, because you are going to get some mistakes that are going to cost you games, and you probably won't make those mistakes again.
at least you hope not, I suppose.
Yes. So what I've played online with Turbo Depths is usually green-black, so very, very similar to this list. But what we have here is more of a rainbow-style mana base, sort of moved away from sort of Verdant Catacombs and Bayous and maybe 1 or 2 basics. Do you find that the rainbow mana base is just really nice to work with? Do you find there's any like real big advantages than like say a green-black mana base?
So I was on green black for quite a while, and that's the list I actually qualified for the European Legacy Masters with, like, for September. So I'm a big fan of green black. I think it gives you much better options post sideboard in terms of having Abrupt Decay reliably castable, which I think is quite a big deal. However, what I've been doing lately, because I think the format has sped up a little bit, is I just want the most reliable mana base. So sometimes you have to throw back a hand because you don't have the right colors, and in Rainbow you don't have to do that as much. So like a basic land can jam you up a bit, whereas here we don't have that as much. So we can kind of just reliably do the things we're doing, cast our Thoughtseize on 1, and then our green spells on 2, and go off that way.
Yeah, I love that.
So I think that's probably where I'm at.
We do also have a red splash here for Sudden Shock, which we were just talking about before, is a card that has seen Legacy play before, but you obviously have some targets in mind for this card.
Yes. So I think with a rainbow mana base, you are just going to be intrinsically weaker to the actual card Blood Moon. But the most common Blood Moon effect is Mages of the Moon. And I don't think we should dedicate lots of sideboard slots to try and beating both of those. I think it's better to just hone in on the most common one and have an answer that you can always cast under Blood Moon, but it's always going to resolve. So like Sneak and Show, they can put in Mages of the Moon. We can just say, no Force of Will from you. And then we can just be on our merry way. It also hits Opposition Agent, which is another big one that you sometimes see in some scam lists, but there's a lot of mono black lists with it. And you just want to be able to say no to that because it's absolutely backbreaking when somebody jams one of those at you and you're trying to do your crop rotations and stuff.
Yeah. 2 damage is still pretty relevant in a world of, say, Lightning Bolt and a lot of X3s. Even something like potentially like Stoneforge into Caldra can be a clock that really makes you have to pace a bit quicker than typical. So having an out to that as well, or sort of other, like real threats is nice to have. Just not having to worry about removal is fantastic. I should
definitely.
say,
I think
counter magic.
Go on.
No, I was going to say I said removal, but I should say counter magic with the split second.
Right. So another quick thing I'd like to mention about the deck is a lot of people, in my opinion, fall into what I call the stifle trap, where if you're playing a rainbow mana base, you go, I should have stifle. And the problem I have with stifle is you need to hold 1 mana up the whole time you have a stifle. And that just means that you're going to be slower or more vulnerable, whereas something like a Pithing Needle, you can just drop it turn 1, and then you're going to cover every copy of Wasteland, and then you're fine. And then you can just go on turn 2 a little bit better. And so like the spell base for the main deck is the exact same I would play in a green-black Turbo Depths. I think the actual spell base is fine, it's just the mana base I want to be rainbow.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, that's really nice. And I feel like with this list, you actually have a lot of turn 1 black sources as well for Thoughtseize or Duress, which is great. There can be times, even on the green-black versions, where you sometimes have a few more utility lands, like maybe a Caracas in the deck as well, which obviously doesn't cast Thoughtseize or Duress. So yeah, I feel like it's nice that like when you see the land, you know it's going to cast anything you have, no matter what.
And if you do end up getting one of your rainbow lands wastelanded, that's a wasteland that's not pointed at your Dark Depths or Thespian stage as well. So
yes,
you can kind of take a little bit of solace from that.
Yeah. I think when this card was spoiled as well, Legolas's quick reflexes, people thought of Infect, people thought of another Reliquary and Reclaimer builds of Depths decks. I definitely thought of Turbo, and I can see you've done, or at least you said you've done some testing with it so far, and have kind of come to a 1-2 split in the 75. Has this pretty much just been a 5th Not of This World with a bit more text, or do you think the other parts have been or are relevant in this sort of deck?
Yeah, like I've definitely been able to kill blockers with it. So it kind of does a little bit of Sejiri Steppe duty as well, where you get to get rid of like a Murktide region that they were trying to chump block with, or like a DRC and trying to swing the race by blocking for a turn and finishing you off. So being able to actually kill their guy is really important. But the 1 mana is, like with a Stifle, 1 mana is a real cost in a deck that's trying to be as low to the ground as possible, which is why I only like 1 in the main and then have more in the sideboard for when we're against a slower matchup like a white control deck like Bant or the 4-color Leyline decks. Yeah,
very nice. And yeah, I think Not of This World is just one of those cards that majority of the time it's free. And as you said, 1 mana in this deck is a lot. There's definitely been a lot of times where I've kind of mapped out a turn and be like, 1 mana short. And I'm sure that can happen with quick reflexes in many situations where it just wouldn't happen with Not of This World.
Yeah, definitely. And the format is so fast these days, right? So, you got the new Turbo Muxers, you've got Initiative, and like those decks are, putting you under a big clock, Doomsday, things like that. Taking 1 extra turn to make sure you have that mana can be the difference between losing the game and winning it.
Yes. Did this No, all good. The explorations. You said you tested out a build with Loam. How did you find that sort of build?
So the loam strategy we had before was having just 2 or 3 explorations, then like 1 or 2 loams, and the idea was to beat the white removal decks, you just keep presenting your combo over and over again. And sometimes, as I managed to do once in a video, was ghost quarter your control opponent out of the game completely, so they had no permanents. That was that was fun. I wasn't expecting that to work, but it did, and that kind of helps keeping them off of colors as well, so they can't cast plows. So that was that plan, but then the resurgence of Reanimator a bit has meant more surgical extractions in people's sideboards, which means they just extract your thing and your loam's useless. So now that we have quick reflexes, we're kind of back on that mode. But the exploration is really useful because the mana ramp it gives you, if you play it on turn 1, and mostly you keep your hand in this deck based on, you know, what it does. You're not looking to draw more things. Usually your hand should be able to win you the game, and you're just looking for maybe a little bit more mana or something. So turn 1 exploration usually means you have 4 lands in play on turn 2, which means if you've got an Urborg in there, that's enough for Thespian Stage, Dark Depths, Urborg, and then 1 spare mana for something like a Crop Rotation for protection, or a Thoughtseize, or a Legolas's Quick Reflexes, that sort of thing. So that was the original thoughts on the exploration, because it can ramp you +2 for the turn you go, whereas a Spirit Guide only ramps you 1. And that felt quite useful, because also we do need to make land drops as well. It's not like we just need mana. We do actually sometimes need to put 2 lands into play. So I think it's been testing quite well for me so far. I think I've had maybe 2 games where if it was a Spirit Guide, I would have been better off. But then I've had a lot of other games where it's won me the game because I've been able to put 2 lands into play. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah. When it comes to cards like Caracas, which aren't in this deck, I'm typically a big fan of just having like an answer for everything. I think that comes from like the Maverick background of like having typically at least an answer for something, or some way to answer something through Green Suns. When you actually look at like the winners metagame, there aren't many decks that run creatures that you can Caracas or that you really care about. And you could potentially say that with things like Minskin Boot or Yorion, that once they're into play and in that situation, Caracas probably isn't going to save you that much. Are you someone who kind of looks at metagame and says, hey, Caracas isn't really that needed anyway, I'd rather just have, say, an extra City of Brass, and just make sure that my mana is on point?
Kind of. I think it's more of a case of this particular deck. If you are spending your Crop Rotation or your Sylvan Scrying to get a Caracas, you're probably not winning that game anyway. Like, you're kind of trying not to lose rather than trying to win. And this isn't a deck that's very good at trying to not lose. Yes. So I don't think that's the correct direction to go with it. Now, when the meta does have a lot of stuff you want to be hitting with it, then I have run it in the sideboard, and I do recommend in certain meta games to have one in the sideboard as a thing you can reach for. But obviously in the main deck, it doesn't cast your spells, and so it kind of reduces your reliability. And there's only so many spaces for like action land. So I consider like Sejiri Steppe as a spell rather than a land. Like, you know, it's a protection piece most of the time.
Yeah.
And same with Bojuka Bog. Even though it does tap for black, it's not something you want to count as a land because it comes into play tapped, and it's not really what our deck wants to be doing. So I tend to, if you have a metagame that's got lots of like sneak and show but hardly any reanimate or anything, then you can swap the Bojuka Bog for a Caracas. That's probably where I go with that. Very
nice. My only last question is around Duress and Inquisition and kind of the different targets that you want. Duress hitting things like maybe Daze or Force of Will is pretty huge. Inquisition hitting some like maybe small threats that you want to just keep control of the board a little bit, like maybe a DRC. Do you find in game 1, Duress is just a little bit better at hitting some of those like big spell-based targets?
Yeah, I think so. And also the sort of combo-y decks, a lot of the combo decks are going to be worse against Duress than they are Inquisition. You know, but also, you know, just hitting things like Force of Will to make sure you can push through your crop rotations and stuff like that. The reason we're running Inquisition in the sideboard, so it hits Brazen Borrow, which is something that people are going to have more of post-board usually. They do main decks. Obviously, you can't Duress that because it's creature.
That's a great,
yeah. But then also, with this particular build, as I mentioned about the whole Blood Moon thing, our answers to actual Blood Moon are 2 Boseiju. And having the Inquisition is just something, again, that we can board in that we know can hit. And obviously, like, Duress can hit Blood Moon too, but Inquisition can hit Blood Moon, it can hit Magus of the Moon as well, and Opposition Agent. So the decks that are going to have Blood Moon are probably going to have Magus as well. So we want an answer that can hit either of those when we're discarding them on turn 1. So it's kind of, that's why I'm running the Inquisition there. In the green-black Turbo Depths, I tend to run, because I have 4 Abrupt Decays, because I've got more reliable mana for them, I tend to have the Duresses in the board over Inquisitions. But I think in Rainbow, you want Inquisition.
Yeah. No, that's great reasoning. Opening hands. I feel like opening hands are very make or break for learning the deck. Do you have any like heuristics when it comes to an opening hand and what you want to see?
If your opening hand doesn't have access to Dark Depths, you can't keep it. Unless it's post-board and you're in a matchup where Collector Ouphe just wins the game for you.
Yeah, nice.
Because you have 16 of one half of the combo and only 12 of the actual Dark Depths. So you can keep a hand that doesn't have like a Hexmage or a Stage or whatever. But keeping a hand that doesn't have Dark Depths is just going to be no good. And London Mulligan Rule is so good. And it's so powerful for decks like this that you should really be leveraging it.
Yeah. I think sometimes I might even be a bit aggressive. I try to go with, if my hand, like if you kind of think of the perfect hand, it's kind of Urborg, Dark Depths, Hexmage, and then anything on top is pretty much dessert. Like maybe like Thoughtseize as a turn 1 play, or maybe Needle as Naming Wasteland.
Dream, isn't it?
And then like maybe Not of This World is really good as well. So yeah, I feel like the deck can mulligan pretty well when you think of it as you're just trying to find the combo and then things on top that just allow you to get to the stage to actually attack for 20.
Yeah. I definitely think it's better to be more aggressive with your mulligans. Because, like I said, the format's quite fast, especially, you know, game 1, you just want to do your thing, not necessarily... Like, the decks that are going to be able to answer what you're doing game 1 are often going to be decks that are slightly problematic anyway. You know what I mean? So, like, decks just packed full of white removal. They're always going to have loads of white removal in their main deck. So they're always going to be scary. But if you go for, like, okay, this hand can kind of get there, you know, maybe make a turn 3 Marit Lage and attack on turn 4, you'll be dead in a lot of games with a hand like that if you're on the draw. So I think it is better to be aggressive because, you know, our deck has one way of winning, and the earlier we try and win with it, the more likely it is to work in most matchups anyway. So that's kind of how I approach it.
I love that. I think a lot of people would look at this deck and go, oh, why don't you have a plan B? But it's just because the plan A is really strong. You have a lot of protection, a lot of ways to protect the combo, and kind of any sort of dilution of that is just going to make it worse. So I really like that Turbo Depths just literally goes all in on Depths.
I think if you want a plan B, you probably want to play Elvish Reclaimer.
Nice.
It's not a great plan B, but it can do a little bit of a beatdown alongside a Hexmage. But I don't think that's a realistic plan for winning the game. But I think, you know, if you want to run Reclaimer instead of like the Explorations, I think you can do that. And then maybe trim 1 City of Brass as well and have like 3 Reclaimers and possibly even trim the Reflexes or something. But again, I think you are slowing the deck down a little bit. And this deck's not great at playing a really long game. So if you want to play a long game, you should be playing like the sort of the slow build of Depths with like, you know, either like a proper land strategy, or what I quite like is the green-black lists where you run Entomb as like a tutor.
Ooh.
So you have a few spicy bullets like Raven's Crime. Obviously, your main thing you're getting with it is Life from the Loam, but then it becomes a tutor for any land once you have Life from the Loam, and then you can also get like Raven's Crime, Dark Blast, stuff like that.
That's very cool.
Worm Harvest is a personal favorite of mine, but it's not for everyone.
Nice. That's very cool. That reminds me of watching like David Long play on the SCG circuit and play a lot of kind of turbo and green black. Let's get into it. I'm pretty keen for this league. It should be really fun. I think as well, the games can be pretty quick, so we got like a lot of time to talk, which is nice about like lines, which is kind of cool. A lot better than like a grindy deck to co-stream. Legacy League. Cyrus, when did you start playing Legacy?
When I start playing Legacy, a very long time ago. I would say Shadowmoor when that came out.
Nice.
When I first started playing Legacy. So, like, Strawberry Parfait was a real deck in Legacy at that point. That's how long ago it was. And, like, the lands deck was just, like, 42 lands, Life of the Loam, Mana Bond, and, like, we didn't even have Punishing Fires back then. So,
that's cool.
A long time ago.
Yeah, that's 2008.
Jeez.
It's the year I graduated high school. It's a long time ago. Yes, creeping tar pit lands.
Yeah. The good old days.
All right. What are your thoughts on the play?
On the play, so this hand is what, a turn 2 or a turn 3 2020, depending on how you want to lay it out. Sorry, yeah, a turn 3 2020. But there's a lot of protection in it.
Yeah.
So I think this is on the slower side of what I would keep, but I think this is fine because of the amount of protection involved. The question is sequencing with this hand.
Yeah.
So the Wasteland can ruin our day quite a lot. And if we're on the play, we can get a Pithing Needle down before any sort of days. But then obviously, if our opponent is a combo deck and they just ruin us with something, then we might want to Thoughtseize on turn 1. So it's going to be... it's a tricky... I think we can keep this one, though.
Yeah.
I think the protection is good. It's just a case of the actual sequencing on it is a little tricky.
Yeah, and I think turn 2, it's probably best to scrying before you play the Hexmage. You don't want to play the Hexmage and then have it like destroyed before you actually even get to Dark Depths.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think the land we lead off on is the City of Brass.
Yes.
And I think it's probably the Pithing Needle.
Yeah.
Because of how bad Wasteland is for us.
Yeah,
like we can play a Thoughtseize around a Daze to next turn if they're like a blue deck, if we need to.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like a Lotus Petal off the top would be pretty great for us. Chromox, okay.
All right. It's a matchup where Thoughtseize would have been better, but you never know, do you? So look, a Blood Moon.
Okay.
So that's not great for us, truth be told.
Yeah.
So we need to have... Yeah, so basically we need to draw Lotus Petal and Boseiju to win this game.
Yes. But our opponent doesn't have a clock on board. So...
No, so we've got a little bit of time. So I would, I'd keep playing this game until our opponent plays a threat.
I guess we need 2 Lotus Petals, because we need 1 green for the scrying.
Yeah, well, if we naturally draw the Boseiju, yeah. So we need either Boseiju Lotus Petal, or we need 2 Lotus Petals.
Yes.
Not great. Thoughtseize would have been a lot better here, but that's kind of the problem you have sometimes, isn't it? Wasteland is a lot more frequent to play against than a Blood Moon. You just gotta play what you gotta play sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Like
we took the percentage play there rather than Thoughtseize. If we'd have had a third land in hand, then I think we would Thoughtseize on turn 1.
Yeah, great point. Especially because you only really need 2 with this hand. Yeah.
Not the ideal start to the older league, but usually these sorts of Blood Moon decks are pretty good for us as a general rule.
Yes.
Like I think my win rate against mono red prison decks is like 70% with Turbo Depths. Because you just use their pieces as your combo, which is quite nice.
Yes.
You just let them get their moon in, and then you just say nope, and then you're fine. Also, which hands you keep metric against mono red prison is a little bit different when you're playing green black than when you're playing turbo. Because when you're playing green black, you can basically keep a hand that just has access to abrupt decay because their deck doesn't really beat us quick enough without the Blood Moons. So they're going to mulligan heavily for them. So if you can just answer the Blood Moon out of green black with the mana to cast an abrupt decay are usually fine. Although if you're on the play, hand disruption is really good too.
Yeah. When you think of cards to
I
take
think we're
out,
probably done here.
I assume like Bojuka Bog is a pretty easy cut.
Yeah. Like Bojuka Bog. Sejiri Steppe is something you can cut against the moon decks as well. Like they can run Dead Gone sometimes, but like a lot of our protection spells are just not necessary here. So we've got a Lotus Petal.
Yeah, I assume we're dead, so we might as well Thoughtseize them to see if they have anything sus.
Yeah. Get some information while we're there.
Okay. Okay. So one card that I always am not too sure about is Dead Gone in the 75, as that's typically like a clean way to answer a Marit Lage, but isn't always in the deck. Is that a card you respect post-board?
It's something that's worth thinking about, but like protection like Legolas' Swift Reflexes isn't what we want here. That's not really gonna achieve what we require, I don't think.
Yes.
And then I'll definitely be looking at trimming Not of This World, the Bojuka Bog, like you said. The Ghost Quarter is not actually particularly useful here either. So that's another one you can board out in this matchup if you want.
Yeah.
And like Sejiri Steppe, Ghost Quarter, it's a case of how much stuff are we bringing in. Because we're bringing in the Inquisitions. That's the easy one. We're bringing in the Sudden Shocks. So that's only 6. So you can leave in like Not of This World, which I think is better than the Swift Reflexes because it costs nothing, and Chalice is a thing that you can have on 1, and you don't want to get your Legolas Swift Reflexes caught by that.
Nice.
So something like that is probably where I go. Like there is a temptation sometimes to bring in things like Null Rod because they have a load of artifact mana, but I think you're just playing a slower game that's not really going to favour you there.
Yeah, and also like hitting our own Lotus Petals can sometimes be a bit of a hard pill to swallow. It seems a little bit like bringing in Containment Priest when you're a Green Suns deck, or Gaddock Teague when you're a Green Suns deck. You have to kind of weigh up, does it do more for you than your opponent? But I think, yeah, turning off those Lotus Petals would be pretty tough.
Yeah, in this matchup especially, like turning off a Lotus Petals in a matchup where you get to shut down like a Storm deck with a bunch of 0-drop artifacts is like brilliant. But here it's just like, it might not do anything at all, which is not really how I like my sideboard cards. With this deck, you only want to board cards that have a big impact, whether it's keeping you alive or stopping you from getting your things dealt with in whatever way.
Yeah. Nice. I think this is nice and clean, which is cool. And would love probably like a Thoughtseize or Inquisition in the opening, which we do have, but we don't have the depths.
Yeah. So like if we were to keep this hand, we'd just be praying to draw one of 12 cards in a timely fashion against a deck that's got a bunch of mana ramp and redundant copies of Blood Moon. I'm not sure I particularly like that as a strategy.
Yeah, I think it's just maybe a little bit too slow. Like Needle doesn't do a whole lot in this matchup. The second Urborg doesn't do anything here. So it's pretty much a 5 without the ability to cast Sudden Shock unless they play a Moon effect. So I think we could mulligan this.
Yeah, I would mulligan this one. I think
Oh,
another thing, Needle was in this matchup is definitely a thing you can board out as well. Okay.
This is actually really nice because what it has is the ability to go off turn 2, but also the ability to like play Depths under a Blood Moon and then Sylvan Scrying for Boseiju and then use the last petal to Boseiju the Blood Moon effect.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the using their tools against them a little bit thing that you get out of Blood Moons.
Yeah.
Now, Makes of the Moon, that's a different kettle of fish, but that's the thing we have 4 answers for. We can cast under Blood Moon as well.
Yes. So. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is a fine keep, and I think it probably is one of the scryings. We're definitely not throwing away any Lotus Petals here, that's for sure.
Yes.
Those are a pretty important resource.
I assume they wouldn't chalice on 0 either, so I assume we just pass here with 6 and 5 in hand.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing to do here. Now, if they chalice his area here and blow us out, that'd be sad, but I think the surprise of us being able to go off on turn 2 is definitely would change the way that they play the game.
Yeah. Come on, Blood Moon. Ah, hey-oh. Okay, nice. So
This plays into the exact line that we spoke about.
yeah, which is really, really nice because now we have the Sudden Shock as well. So playing the Depths, of course, means it comes in with no counters. And now we have 2 mana in play, and we have 2 green sources, so we can Sylvan Scrying using 1 and 1 for Boseiju, and then probably just hold up the Boseiju.
Yeah, sounds good to me. So it seems odds on for us doing it right now. Again, Dead and Gone is a card they can have. But we've got some nice tools here. And like they're definitely going to keep their hand on the back of a turn 1 Blood Moon. Like the rest of the hand could be rubbish, and they would still keep that, I think, in this matchup.
So we have to respond to this one, of course.
Yeah. And then they won't have any mana to do anything like a Dead Gone.
Yes.
And they shouldn't have anything for 0 mana to stop us here.
Nice.
Thanks, you could help us combo opponent.
Very nice. Look at that. The turn 2 win. It's that easy. But small things like mulliganing was good to something more aggressive and kind of having like a bit more of a plan. Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
I think we should be taking out some of these Pithing Needles as well for the game, because what are they? They're not really stopping anything.
No, I think the only thing is like
can do some stuff.
Yeah.
Like Fable, copying Fable is the only thing it can do, which sometimes is useful, but usually by the time that happens, it's like game over anyway.
But Cyrus, we could turn off
just having some
Den of the Bugbear.
Go on. Yeah, like sometimes you see builds, not that often, but you sometimes see the builds with the Planeswalkers, like the Khans and stuff. I know there's a few players in the Mono Red Discord who like the Khan build still. That's why I like to leave them in a little bit, but I think shaving them for some more Not of This World for Dead Gone might be better. Yeah, Not of This World, I think.
Nice.
Now, if they just go and play a Khan on like turn 1 and ruin our day, then fair enough.
Oh, okay. I mean, we have the combo, and we have the Petal, and the Scrying.
Yeah, seems like a reasonable way to play the game. Now, we don't have a second green source for a Boseiju here, which is where the green-black version is slightly better off. But we could also just draw a Petal on turn 1 and make a 20/20 on turn 1. Has our opponent mulliganed at all?
No.
They're keeping the 7, aren't they? Okay.
I love these Chromok starts. I feel like it's a Magus. Oh, okay. This card. Have you seen this card before?
Oh, yes.
Nice. Okay.
I got smashed up by it last night a couple of times.
Yes. It can make combat a little bit interesting. Especially in the Muxus builds of goblins. Or I should say the more turbo versions of goblins. Okay.
Right, not playing a moon effect, though, is relatively useful for us. So this is a thing we can Pithing Needle as well, by the way. So that's something.
Yes. Nice.
And that's probably what we're doing this turn.
Yeah.
It's a case of what land are we playing?
I would say the
Mana want the
Confluence, because that allows us to turn 2 with the Petal, potentially the Hexmage into Depths as the land drop.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where we want to be.
Nice. Board side. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I'm not too sure of what sort of artifact hate these decks run. Like, I assume a Braid is a little bit old school. Fiery Confluence is a 4-drop.
Yeah, they're not going to run it against us, I don't think, anyway. They're just going to sort of be stacking moons and maybe Dead Gones and things. Okay, that doesn't actually impact what we're doing here. So basically, this matchup, our opponent tends to have just the moons and sometimes a Dead Gone, and the rest of their deck doesn't really do anything. for the most part. Like, yes, a chalice can sometimes do stuff, but as a general rule, there's very few points of interaction that we have to worry about.
Yes, which is really, really nice. Is there any reason to not go for it here? I assume we go for end step in their turn.
Yeah, we can just hold on for a little bit because we got the broadside bombardiers nailed with the Pithing Needle. We don't have to worry. Otherwise, we would have to go before then, so they can't. Well, we could do it in response to them sacking something, but
this is fine.
so if they're tapping off of 3 mana, that's good. Okay, another bombardiers. Yeah. That's fine. We can't block it because it's got menace, but taking 4 damage is fine. They are holding up 1 card, but we have the Knot of this World, so we are
correct.
We should be sorted to win this one, unless they have sudden shock.
No, thankfully that wouldn't work because we have a creature with an activated ability where you actually sacrifice as part of the cost.
Well, you couldn't put any abilities on the stack with. You could only put triggered abilities on.
Look at that, Cyrus.
Let's see what they got.
Oh,
look at this.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Exactly how we drew it up.
That's a really nice one.
You love to see it.
Very cool. Yeah, really interesting like ballet between those two decks.
Yeah, I'm always happy to play against the The initiative decks are much worse than the mono red prison because initiative decks have got like a much better clock, and sometimes making a turn 3 2020 is too slow against initiative, which is a wild thing to say, but whereas the mono red you tend to get a little bit more time, but you just have these 1 or 2 things you need to hit. Like with green black depths, I don't think I've lost. I think I've maybe lost like 1 round against mono red prison in forever.
Nice.
Like, Rainbow definitely is a little bit more difficult, but I think the matchup is pretty solid.
After that game 1, I was a little bit I wasn't too sure, but here we are. What did you start out in Legacy or did you start out in other formats?
I played standard because everyone does. I started out as a filthy casual back in the day. So I started playing when Onslaught came out, and then me and my brother just played sort of casually between us, and then we sort of took a break in like Mirrodin, like after Mirrodin, and then we sort of got back in at Time Spiral Lorwyn. Yeah, I think it was like as Future Sight came out, we were sort of a little bit clued in, and then we started going to FNMs during when Lorwyn came out. So that was like my first actual pre-release was Lorwyn, despite having been playing for a long time. And then quite quickly got into other formats because they were really fun. Like Extended back in the day was like my favorite format for quite a while. Like with all the like Mighty Quinn and Tezzerator and Elves.
Mighty Quinn?
Like proper Storm and Dredge. Yeah, it was like the mono white control deck that basically wants to win the game 101.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It just had all the answers to everything.
That's pretty funny. I do really like from time to time
everyone.
Going back on like MTG The Source and MTG Salvation and looking at the spoiler announcements for like Jace the Mind Sculptor or Tarmogoyf for like Bitter Blossom, Duck Confidant, and just seeing how people reacted at the time. It's really cool to see. Just how things have evolved.
Yeah, I remember people thought Jace was good, but they didn't think it was as good as it was going to be. So I like snapped up 8 of them straight away. I was like, "Yep, going to be playing this guy." And everyone was like, "Why are you playing 4 of them in your standard deck?" It's like, "Have you read this card?"
Yeah.
Because I built. So I used to be relatively well known as a brewer back in the day, and there was a deck that I brewed in that era that somebody did quite well with. It was like the Rug land destruction deck. Where you use like Lotus Cobra to power out like Goblin Ruin Blaster, and then the 4 mana land destruction that also dealt damage and stuff. And then you'd have like bounce spells on their lands. You just kind of pressure them. So it was like Jace the Mind Sculptor, Bloodbraid Elf, and then like land destruction and ramp.
Very cool.
That was quite a fun one. I wish I could remember the person who. I think they might have top 8'd a GP with it, but I can't remember. It wasn't me, sadly. So. This is a turn 3, 2020,
Yes.
which is okay. But we have a lot of draws that can speed that up as well. So like a crop rotation makes this a turn 2, 2020. We don't have any protection,
No.
but we have a reasonable... Well, we've got Boseiju, which is protection from Wasteland in a way. So I think this one is... Are we on the play or the draw?
On the draw.
This is kind of like a low power keep, I think. This is sort of like the lower end of what I would consider keeping. It's kind of an awkward one. I think it's a bit of a coin flip whether or not you're supposed to mull this one.
Yeah, because it does have a route to Duck Depths, which is really nice. It has multiple ways to interact, or at least combo off, but no real protection other than Boseiju.
And we are relying very heavily on the Sylvan Scrying resolving.
Yes.
Which, you know, is kind of part of our deck to an extent. I know, I'll let you call this one. You're in the hot seat.
Oof, okay. Would I keep it? I think it's a pretty good 6. I think a 6 could easily give it. Not easily, but I think a usual 6 could give us a turn 3 with interaction.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
Being on the draw as well, getting the extra draw back is kind of nice. If we can try to win before that card advantage takes over.
Yeah. I don't recognize the player's name to know what they're on either, so...
No.
Yeah, go on then. Let's go fishing for a better one then.
Well... A lot more confusing.
So we've got some protection, but we are dependent on drawing another mana source for this deck to function. Or our opponent could help us out with the Yawgmoth or Urborg, which sometimes happens. We have the protection against Wasteland, though, which is nice. And land is the most abundant thing in our deck.
Yes.
So I think this is probably keepable throwing back a Knot of this World.
Yeah, nice.
Like, we've got 2 draw steps to find a land. And we've got like 20-something of them.
These are the hands where you kind of hope it's just Reanimator, and it's just like a slow Reanimator of like looting creatures away to get back the following turn.
Yeah, the old main deck Bojuka Bog wins you a surprising amount of games that you don't deserve to win.
Okay. Some form of blue-red Delver.
All right. Delver is one of the better matchups as a general rule, so how about this? Being on the draw is sometimes a little bit awkward if they can daze our... So the worst case scenario here is we play Gemstone Mine, we play the Pithing Needle on Wasteland, they daze it, untap Wasteland us. Then we're probably in the dirt at that point. But if we don't do that, then we're just exposed to Wasteland anyway. So we have to make the play on the Pithing Needle here, because we need to get our mana out in front of us.
Do you rather play against, say, Grixis or Rug? Is there one that you think typically favors you a little bit more?
Rug is better. Like, they're both positive matchups, but Rug is more positive because sometimes the black decks, they have Shoulder's Edict, which is a different layer of annoying to play against because obviously Not of This World and stuff doesn't interact with it.
Yes.
And
that's why you need
like,
your Kahani Garden.
Yeah, I have toyed around. I've played a deck with County Gardens in the other day, actually. I played like a Hogak Depths build that was from the Eternal Weekend Prague that looked pretty funky. So it went very well, surprisingly well. Okay, so in with this. So the worst case scenario has been avoided. So that's always nice.
It's really nice to...
Usually Rug Delve is fine.
Yes. It's really nice to play a deck here that doesn't really care about like Orcish Bowmaster either. Like typically they're not going to be trading with your Hexmage, and we don't have any real draw effects either.
Yeah, Orcish Bowmaster was actually great for this deck because all of the decks playing the little 1/1 flyer creatures like Strix and Ice Fang, they all kind of stopped playing those.
Yeah.
So there's less things for us to have to push through, so we more reliably getting our 20 damage in.
They chose not to shuffle.
Okay.
Have a pretty quick start here.
So we got sorcery and land so far. All right, another Pithing Needle is not where we want it to be, sadly. We can play out the Dark Depths. It just gives us the land in play for future. We already have Wasteland covered.
Yeah, we could cast a Needle here, but I think the 2 counters on Gemstone are more important.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. So
yeah. Unfortunately.
we do need to find some mana, though. If they get rid of our Needle and try and Wasteland us, we can always use Crop Rotation as a sort of pseudo-protection piece of at least swapping it out and force them to have other interaction.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, I would assume the only main deck way they have to deal with Needle is Brazen Borrow or Bounce. Which isn't too bad, because it's obviously not one going towards the Dark Depths, but sadly we do have the Nod of this World, so we kind of rather that.
Yeah, like, generally, the way Delver beats you game 1 is early threats, Wasteland and Permission. Like, trying to bounce your stuff is rarely going to come up. Now, you know, if you play enough games, they're going to have it at some point, and I've definitely been blown out and lost because of it, but I don't think it's worth worrying about too much. It's just a case of, can we make our 2020 before they kill us? All right. The killing us thing is definitely on the cards. So, okay, so we found the mana source here.
Now it's tough because we're effectively at 14. We're going to be taking 5, 8, 9, putting us down to 5. But we would need to use the Confluence again, putting us to 4, which means that even if we block the Murktide, we would still take lethal.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have any route out of this game, unfortunately.
We have 3 cards.
The only way we win this game is if our opponent makes a mistake.
Yes.
They would have to attack into us, but not with everything, which I don't think they will do when it's just very clearly on board. So probably just a concession time and make sure we have more time for the other games. Not that we're going to run out of time with our deck, but you never know.
Yeah, because here, even if I was trying to think, there's not even a way to get like stage in play and also say Urborg to get an extra mana off the depths.
Yeah, and there's also 3 cards in our opponent's hand that can, you know, it could be a lot of problems, could be counter spells, could be bolts as well. It's just not worth going on with that one. All right, so in this matchup, so controversially, I don't actually like Bojuka Bog in this matchup.
Yeah,
because anytime you're trying to get a Bojuka Bog, you're doing that thing of trying not to lose instead of trying to win, and that's not how this deck functions. So obviously I like our ability to keep our things okay. So this is an interesting one though, because we've seen Rug mana from them. They could be the 4-color build, so we don't know if we're going to need Inquisitions or Duresses or both. Obviously we need to another important thing I like to mention in this is a lot of people like to board out crop rotations against blue decks. We are not a deck that can afford to do that because it's so essential to our plan. So the discard spells are the best thing we can board in. So we're taking out a Bojuka Bog here, and we can take out... what do we want here?
I do like the explorations on the play against the Daze deck.
Yeah, that's certainly useful. I don't think we want sudden shocks to this matchup, by the way. I don't think that's where we want to be. Like, our combo should just put a guy into play and be good enough. And if we want removal, we have that one of Legolas's quick reflexes. We can run more of that if that's something we're interested in. We need to keep our Boseijus and our Ghost Quarters because they can hit opposing things. So we're probably looking at trimming something like either a Lotus Petal or an Exploration here. I think it's probably the Exploration just to trim to get the other discard in because the discard's going to be more useful. Nice.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
We don't know if they're 3 or 4 color yet, though. like I'm assuming 3-color because that's the sort of build that's been on the rise lately with the rug build because it won like Eternal Weekend as well, and I prefer the rug build playing it because I'm a big rug gamer.
Nice.
This hand is no good.
Yeah, sadly, no one to find Dark Depths is a pretty big reason to mulligan. Look, the mana is off, but it does have obviously ways
we only
to
need
set
to draw
up
one mana source. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to lead off on Pithing Needle if we keep this hand.
Correct. Which, yeah, it's tough because like Second Needle's really nice against, say, a counterspell on the first one, but Thoughtseize is kind of nice in like controlling how many threats or what threats they can play.
Yeah, like the thing we put back is either a Needle or a Sejiri Steppe here. I think it's probably the Needle because if we have a crop rotation, getting rid of a Sejiri Steppe is a fine land to pitch to that, and also means that we have a land that can tap for mana, so we can cast a Sylvan Scrying.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we keep one Needle, and this hand it requires mana, but again, it's the most abundant thing on our deck. I only tend to keep hands that require drawing mana as a general rule.
Do you read anything into a blue player who just F6s on, say, like turn 1?
No, not necessarily.
Cool. I don't too much either. Okay, no turn 1 threat
Turn
is
1 isn't
fantastic.
our big turn anyway, so. Well, turn 1 can be our big turn if you sometimes have the double petal start with the Hexmage. That really annoys people. Okay,
Yes.
so not ideal, but we can drop a step and then we can decide what we're doing with our Thoughtseize. Because our opponent probably has a Brainstorm, I don't think we're supposed to fire off the Thoughtseize right now.
Oh, you want
because
to
they're
keep
just
it?
going to hide their best card.
Yeah, because I guess...
I think it's definitely a thing to consider.
Yeah, sorry. Because City of Brass has a trigger,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I've taken off the stack, I have
that's right.
I have to. But I
Yeah,
actually...
no, that's fine. Like I think it's fine to cast it here, but I think it's worth considering that they could Brainstorm away something like a Brazen Borrower and keep it safe.
Hmm.
There you go. It's almost like I've played thousands of games of Turbodex. But like I quite often, depending on how our mana is, so if we had another black source in hand, then I would probably be firing this Thoughtseize off. So I think the margins of when you do and don't fire it off is the dazing as well. Okay, interesting. That sets our opponent back a little bit.
Yeah.
And the main thing we're worried about from our opponent is them playing threats that kill us. Like they can have like a couple of borrowers in their deck for us to worry about. And the way they aggressively did that makes me think they're either on one threat or they have the borrower. That's sort of the information I'm being told there. Unless they've got some interesting sort of weird tech in there, like old school Blood Moon Delver like there was once upon a time. But I highly doubt that.
They're actually going to Portent us, which is pretty
That's
interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been targeted by Portent online. So this is a first.
I recorded with the deck that won the Eternal Weekend at Prague, and I had the Portent, and it's been so long since I've cast one. When it asked me target, I was like, I just target my opponent. It's like, wait a minute, that's not what I'm supposed to do. So we can play, if you want to, you can play one Hexmage out now and see if they have any interaction for it, and then have one the next turn, or we could just play the land out pass and then play a Hexmage next turn. Round of days, and then we can also have the Dark Depths. So I think it's probably fine to not play into a removal spell here, because they're going to have Lightning Bolt still, because they don't have enough cards to board out.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably not play the Hexmage here.
I'm pretty happy about that as well. Because, yeah, you could get a Lightning Bolt out of their hand, but we don't care about it that much just because it doesn't interact with a combo, which is nice.
Interesting that they portented and gave us the... Did they shuffle, actually, or did they give us the
It's a good point.
land?
It doesn't... sorry. Oh, that's a fantastic draw, let's be honest. We'll see if they know about it.
That's a good one.
Caster
Right,
chose
so-
not to use Portent's ability.
Okay, so they didn't shuffle. So they gave us the land into Not of This World.
Okay.
That's very interesting. What information is that giving us? Like we're definitely playing the Hexmage out here, and I don't think our spot gets better. Obviously, we don't have to play around Wasteland, so we can just play this. If this resolves, we play Depths. If it doesn't, when we hold the Depths, just in case they answer our Needle.
Oh, that's fine. Oh, sorry. I should play the Depths. I'm thinking
No,
of like,
I don't think you play the Depths.
Yeah, because something like Borrower into Wasteland would be kind of annoying. And we can play around that a little bit by Hexmage first next turn and then Depths. Actually, no. Yes.
Yeah, and we have the 1 mana for days already anyway.
Yes.
As well, so. Right, Seeking the Beast. What do they find?
The 2 cards were Murktide and Delver.
Okay, that's fine. It's not what we're bothered by. Will our Hexmage resolve is the thing that we're more worried about. So they're probably just going to jam a Murktide here because it's the biggest, baddest thing they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a Delver as well. Sure.
So
we've got quite a lot of life still.
Do they know about this last card with Porton? It's top 3, correct? Look at the top 3, yes.
Yeah, so they do know about this one. So I think we are just, again, playing the Hexmage. If the Hexmage doesn't resolve, we play the stage. If the Hexmage does resolve, then our opponent is in a little bit of trouble. Yeah, resolving City of Brass triggers on Magic Online is really irritating.
Just a little
Because if you like tap all your stuff to cast a spell, it doesn't always work properly.
No flip is pretty huge here as well, because it means if they don't have a way to interact with the combo here, they have to block with the Murktide. They can't just chump block with the Delver.
Right, Brainstorm's pretty good.
Here's a question: What do you do if they attack with the Murktide?
Just the Murktide. That is an interesting decision.
I would assume that they must have.
I think they have to answer it. Yeah, so it's a case of, is our Not of This World going to be good enough? And we're banking on our Not of This World being good enough anyway, so I think we probably do take the block because it might give us some more time. They're not going to have any sorcery speed bounce apart from Seal of Removal is the only one that they might have. But again, Not of This World covers that, and if they have Seal of Removal, they don't have any mana for the Borrower.
Oh, that's going to be online. Okay.
Is this guy Delirious? He is. Okay, so that's the blocker. They're going to attack with the Murktide here. All right, so they have no mana to bounce, so we are very safe making our 20/20 to block if they attack here.
They put in Meltdown. That makes sense. I thought that might be a reason why they just F6 turn 1, because they didn't really care about anything potentially. Maybe Thoughtseize? No, that doesn't make sense. No attacks. All right.
Right, so no attacks. So make a friend. We eat the Channeler on the first turn. And then their plan is basically to race us. Which a couple of lightning bolts can do. But we are not holding back on blocks, so let's just eat one of their guys.
Yeah, sadly, like, they haven't cast a bolt yet. It's turn 6. The outcome of them having, like, a flip here into double bolt for lethal is not too unheard of.
Okay, they're brainstorming in response. That's interesting, because they filtered the top of their deck a fair bit last turn. So that's a good sign for us.
Ponder.
I see the chat talking about Stifle. I do like Stifle, but only specifically in Canadian Threshold.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love seeing Canadian Threshold come up every now and then with, like, a trophy. It's always cool to see.
I think I had back-to-back trophies with it a little while back.
Yes, I did see that. Congratulations. I think that is, like, a nice little, like, I don't know. I think it's, like, more than a trophy to trophy with something like Canadian Threshold right now. Ooh.
Yeah, I love that's sort of my flavor. Okay, Lightning Bolt, that's not great. You want another one?
What's this? Oh, Murktide to grow it?
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
I think that'll do it.
How many have they got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is enough, isn't it?
Yeah. Tough.
Yeah.
Oh, I draw.
Yeah, the sort of the turn of delay we had of not drawing our black source was the one there, wasn't it? So we more lost to our own deck than our opponents for the most part, I'd say there.
Yeah, it can definitely be a tough race against the decks with multiple flyers and some breach and bolt. Because yeah, even if we, I still really like our attack as well. Just to act like
if we're not attacking, we're just giving our opponent more time to find it, right? Like we have to put them on it. If you give them time, they're just will eventually have it, and then it's game over.
Yeah, it's awkward against Murktide decks to sometimes like draw Bojuka Bog a little bit late because then it grows the Murktide.
This doesn't really do anything, does it?
No.
We're trying to draw into one of 16 cards, which is a lot of cards, but we don't really have any acceleration. We don't have any protection apart from the Pithing Needle, which is okay, but we've got a glut of land, so we don't really need the Pithing Needle anyway.
Yes.
This would be a mulligan from me.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Like another land off the top would just be pretty disastrous. But it does have some like small things, like it has mana online, which is nice. It does have 2 ways to interact, but really want that early. Oof. Okay, well, no lands. I'd rather.
And the mulligan's powerful.
Some.
Okay, well this is an easy mulligan. So.
Oh, okay. So we have a way to the combo. We also
this
have
is a turn 2 with protection. Oh wait, actually no, we have to throw some cards back, don't we? Why can't we have it all?
definitely keeping. I would work towards just the combo, like 2 mana for Hexmage and then the Petal for Crop. But we do have,
I think,
like, we have a high chance of drawing into another mana source. You could be greedy and drop a Mana Confluence, but I think that's a little bit.
no, I think you want the lands here. And it probably is the protection that goes, which is kind of what happens usually when you mulligan with this deck. Like you can usually make a 20/20, but if you have to mulligan low, it just impacts the amount of protection you have. Like turn 2 20/20 is like no slouch at winning the game.
Yeah. Oh, Taiga. Please don't be Belcher. Okay, Green Suns for 0. Ah, maybe this is a Punishing Mav. It could also be like a Nine Depths.
Yeah, which is a horrible matchup. It could also be the the sort of the green-red initiative deck.
Yes.
I guess we're about to find out. So. What have you got, opponents? This will also tell us about what we need to do with our Lotus Petal. I'd rather play out the Lotus Petal here. Oh, wow.
Yes, I would as well.
We're Jund. What is that 2 mana card?
Yeah, Soul of the Lost World. Oh, wow. I got this on the weekend in a pity pack.
Cards in Graveyard. Okay, so it's kind of like a weird Tarmogoyf.
Yes. It's
weird. So what are we taking here is the question.
Yeah. I don't care about the troll.
No. If we take the problem with the therapy is that it can definitely, because they can get 2 bites at it this turn if they want. And that could be a little bit annoying for us. If they have one bite, they're unlikely to name. If we play the Lotus Petal out, how much is that going to telegraph what we've got? I don't think
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
if we play out the Lotus Petal, then they can just play the Collector Ouphe,
Yes.
which is kind of annoying. I guess in response we would crop rotate for Dark Depths
And just hope for a.
and then just try and draw a mana source.
Mm.
I know.
I like
hitting
taking
a
the.
Cabal Therapy never feels great, but I think it might be the choice.
Yeah, I think giving them the flashback when they know our hand as well is just pretty brutal.
Now they've already got like a random creature they can sacrifice to it.
I do like the thought of keeping the Lotus Petal though.
Or in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think that's a fine choice. Like our opponent is probably more likely to play their threat out.
Hmm.
Because if they put us on Turbo Depths, they're not really going to be too bothered by artifacts on our deck. But then what they might do is Cabal Therapy flashback, and then see that they need to play the Collector Ouphe.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's kind of a case of what you think your opponent's going to do here, which is an awkward spot.
Yeah. To be fair,
I guess worst case scenario is they Cabal Therapy us and hit, and then play Collector Ouphe.
yeah. Yeah, like when I think of Mana Confluence, sometimes I think of LED, especially after Thoughtseize. Maybe not out of Dredge, but potentially they would steer towards Collector Ouphe because it's a way to like not lose the game to combo. So then maybe it is worth Petal for crop to hold up crop.
I think so.
Because then at least that gives
It's
us
close.
yeah, one piece on the field. And then we do have some nice outs, like Urborg off the top is great.
Yeah, always happy to see Urborg in this deck. So, oh, okay, that just solves all my problems.
Yeah.
Until it's the third Urborg you've drawn. Then they're just bad Lotus Petals.
Yeah, the best is against some of the mono black decks that do play Urborg, where you just get a free mana off it without realizing it first, and then you can see that you can tap your Dark Depths for mana. You're like, oh, that's right. And especially when it has a real effect on the game, that could be pretty cool.
I had an opponent the other couple of days ago who they played. I can't remember if it was Yawgmoth or Urborg they played, and basically we were completely dead if they didn't play it, and then they gave us the whole game. It's like, oh, it's pretty good.
Ooh, Veteran Explorer.
Sometimes you have the opposite. Okay, so we're like John Nickford. They could be playing any sort of weird and wonderful stuff, couldn't they?
So now they get a flashback. See, I wonder if we should just F5 here or crop now. Like, do they think that because we played this, knowing about Ouphe, we have crop rotation? No.
Yeah, this is a tough one. If we don't crop here, then there is a chance that we don't have access to a 2020 at any point.
And to be fair, if we don't crop here, they're probably going to play the Ouphe anyway, off the mana.
And then we're going to want to crop that. So
Yeah. So I
think it's probably safest to do this.
Yeah. Pretty heads up if they now name Hexmage. It's like, what do I lose to?
Yeah, but at least we have the harder part of our combo to find.
And not too much of a
don't have any
clock from them.
basics.
Yeah, sadly. Come on, Cyrus, what is this? Didn't get ready for the old Nick Fit play.
Green Black Depths would have had to be able to get 2 lands out here, and that would have been pretty nice. Let's have a nice little fun shuffle. Curious what they name here.
Hexmage.
Could be another crop rotation. They name Hexmage, yeah, sure.
And here's the Ouphe. Sure.
Yeah, so we were always going to be doing that crop rotation anyway. Maybe we give our opponent information about what they name, but I think the more important thing there is to make sure we have the Dark Depths, because it's kind of how our deck is. Well, it's the only way our deck operates. And a game without Dark Depths is unwinnable. Actually, that's not true. I have won by Hexmage beatdown in the past, but it's like 1 in 100 games, or maybe more, maybe 1 in 200 games.
That can't feel good. Okay.
No, I've been beaten by Hexmage beatdown as well. That didn't feel good. But, it's like getting beaten by beatdown out of Ouphe. So he would have had the other mana. So how big is that guy? 3/4 at the moment.
3/4 correct.
It's not too bad.
So they currently have 6.
It's a 3-turn clock.
Yes.
Hexmage.
Thankfully, it doesn't change with these Mana Confluence activations. They wouldn't play. Yeah, I think we just played the other Mana Confluence.
You play the stage and copy a bait. Oh no, sorry, we can't do that. We haven't got the other land. Yeah, so it probably is the Confluence here. I think you're right. Yeah, it's the Confluence.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We go to 3. And then we block 1, and we still take 3. Tough.
Oh, maybe we're supposed to play the Thespian stage in case we draw an Urborg then.
Yes. Yeah, that's on me. I should have done the math. Because yeah, take 6, we go to 5, and then they have 3 and 3, which puts us down to 2, and then we have to use 2 to take it.
Guess we can draw crop rotation.
Yes. Ooh.
Although obviously they can make their guys bigger.
I think it's now on them to see how we attack, or how they attack.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough because, yeah, playing that, of course, would have meant we're at 1. Damn.
Pain lands coming back to bite us a little there.
That's all good. Mis-sequencing by me as well. Which, as you said at the very start, little things like that can definitely add up and cost you.
I think if we were playing the green-black build, our matchups would have been slightly more positive this league. But there you are. You never know.
They are having a pretty big think. Ooh, oh. We kind of have to go for it.
Yeah, we're not winning otherwise, are we?
Oh, what? Oh, yeah, I was going to say, if we had like a basic forest or a land we could grab with it, we could make the copy, get the mana, and then because we have a legendary creature, blow up the Dryad Arbor. But I don't think we have a land to get. And if we made the 2020, it would just fizzle anyway. Yeah. I guess we can.
All right. We'll put it on them to make the mistake with their attacks.
Interesting they didn't just attack, and then in response to us activating, they then Boseiju.
Yeah, they're certainly giving us a little bit of a chance here. But I think it's going to be false hope. Yeah, just turn the guys sideways.
Tough. Tough. All right. Nick Fit, how do we do this?
I don't really know what's in Nick Fit, to be honest. Who does at the end of the day?
Yeah.
They're probably not going to be answering our Marit Lage, are they? In Jund colours.
No.
The only thing they're going to answer it with is going to be like Shoulder's Edict if they have anything.
Yes.
So Not of This World is probably going to be useless.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I don't mind the Inquisitions on the play.
Yeah, it can certainly undercut a decent chunk of the things they're doing. I don't know if they're going to be playing any moon effects, because obviously I have a bunch of basics, so it's certainly possible because they're in red. I think having a couple of sudden shocks over Not This World makes sense.
Yeah.
Needle
and Boseiju still seems good.
Yeah, so we can Needle Boseiju. They might have Wastelands. We don't know. They might have like Ramanap Excavator in their Green Suns package. So it's a case of, do we want to trim any of our lands to fit in some more sudden shocks? So we could trim like a Bojuka Bog, and by the same merit as the not, I guess the Sejiri Steppe is better than Not of This World because it lets us attack through a potential blocker.
Yes.
So they're going to have things like Endurance in their deck.
Yeah.
But I think we can trim a Bojuka Bog for a sudden shock, but I don't know if we get the fourth sudden shock in. How useful is Duress going to be? I guess it takes out the Shoulder's Edict if we're thinking they're playing that. So I think it's probably still fine having the Duress in there.
Yeah. I like that. Even like a Green Suns, potentially.
Yeah, we don't know if they're natural. That's the thing with Nick Vick. It's just cards, isn't it? It could be anything.
But what about Ishkanar?
Carnosaur.
How are we going to beat this card? Chad just said.
Sejiri Steppe.
Yes, nice. There we go.
Does it make black or it makes green spiders? All right.
Correct. Go. Nice.
Easy. Got it covered.
I think this is good. I think it still works towards our main plan, which is nice.
Yeah, you tend to basically only board out your protection-y spells, and in this. Oh, okay. This is a turn 3 with protection.
Yes. Which is pretty nice that it also plays around Cabal Therapy to some extent.
Yeah, that's the reason why this deck is pretty okay into scam at times, because you end up with hands where they can't actually scam away your combo.
Yes, yeah. No better feeling.
Sequencing is interesting here. I think it is probably the Duress that we lead off on.
Yep.
So we can stop like an early ramp from a Green Sun, or we can stop Thoughtseize potentially taking our Pithing Needle or Petal.
Our opponent just went to 5 as well, which is relevant.
Oh yeah, definitely Duress and then get right in it.
I wonder
These
if
sorts of matchups are the ones you want to play, generally speaking, as well with this deck, because they tend to not have that much interaction for the things we're doing, and they tend to be a bit slower. What does this do? Destroy that creature or planeswalker. That doesn't do anything. Okay, that doesn't do anything apart from blow up our
Needle.
Pithing Needle, but I don't really care about that, to be honest.
Yeah. It's probably the... The reason I like taking Cabal is that it might mean they don't fetch. No, they'll play the fetch and then pass. Like right now, Needle names fetch, but I don't think that's really a plan here because they can easily play around that. And I think just having some sort of interaction with Boseiju is worth it.
Yeah, I think we're putting Needle on Boseiju most likely.
The mana's also pretty tough with the Snow-Covered Forest.
Yeah, true. So maybe it's the therapy again. Because obviously the first one can see some stuff, and then the second one can hit. And if they get lucky and hit something that they want off of it, it's going to be bad for us.
Yeah. Nice.
And they can't cast the Molten Collapse, and we can't take the Ouphe, so...
No.
I can't believe we've dressed just a Cabal Therapy twice. That's so unusual. I don't think we're playing the Petal out here.
Yeah, I like keeping it as unknown info. I'd love for them to lead on the forest. Because then I'm probably happy to go after the Catacombs. Okay.
Yeah, it cuts off Boseiju in as well as cutting off of the mana. Okay, so let out on the fetch.
Ooh, okay. Nice. They can't interact with this card.
Yeah, so we just make our thing and have a glorious time, I suppose. If they somehow manage to put a blocker, we can always Sejiri Steppe our way through it.
Yes.
I don't know how they'd be able to put an endurance into play with what they've got.
Yeah, I assume we make it out to play
Unless
around.
they drew like a Spirit Guide.
Yes.
We make it in the upkeep, I think, right? To play around potential Wasteland or Boseiju.
Nice.
It's really interesting, all the different times you actually make your 20/20. Like there's so many like tiny little sort of different ways that it can impact the game.
Don't Sheoldred's Edict us.
Sort of knowing what they all are is really interesting. All right. We're going to Sheoldred's Edict us.
Maybe they have a run afoul. Old school,
yeah,
but
they could have run afoul.
Name Sticker Goblin.
They might just be doing this so they can get some information. I think that's what this is.
I would hope so. Okay, good. Yeah, run afoul is a card I haven't seen in a while, just because it is quite narrow compared to newer printings, especially like Sheoldred's Edict.
Yeah, it's more of a thing you see in decks that don't have access to that sort of thing. So like green-blue decks, you quite often see a couple of run afouls. If you can't play Pyroblast and you can't play Sheoldred's Edict, then I guess you're on run afouls.
Yes, yeah.
I don't think we have any real changes that need to be made here.
Yeah, pretty happy just to run it back.
But like decks like this and Cradle Control and stuff like that tend to be decks you want to be playing against because they don't interact with you enough and they're slow enough that you can just do your thing.
Yeah. I kept
this looks familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, I kept this because it has turn 1 interaction and Needle, and then turn 2 we have the combo. If we want to play it a little bit slower, potentially have Reflexes.
Yeah, this is like basically whenever you keep a 7-card hand with this deck, it always looks bananas. Really, it's like, oh, you've got all of these things, you just get to have a great time.
Opponent went to 6 as well. Forest. Okay.
Veteran Explorer. Okay. A crop rotation. Interesting. So that gives us a little bit of redundancy. If they like Cabal Therapy away our Hexmage, we can still potentially have the crop rotation. Obviously, they might just fire off 2 copies, but then we have the Sylvan Scrying as well, so it can't keep us off of the combo. The Pithing Needle choice, I guess, is probably going to be the Boseiju because we've seen it. They could have Wastelands, but we should probably play around the thing we've seen.
Yeah. I think I'm happy here to name Boseiju and then probably run out the Petal. It's Boseiju who endures, correct? Yeah. That's the one.
Yes. I didn't know there was that many things with Boseiju in the name. Yeah, we can run out the Petal and have an emergency crop rotation if we need one.
I feel like I nearly had my Borg Marigmus moment.
Oh yeah, a classic.
Have you caught much of the Eternal Weekend coverage?
Okay. Not really. I just sort of follow people on Twitter really, and sort of see what they're posting and things.
I do really like the is it MTG Decks that came out with all the matchup analysis?
Oh yeah, that was really good. I wrote an article on the Eternal Weekend Prague about all their analysis actually.
Very cool.
I sort of used that and sort of what does this mean for turbo decks?
Oh, nice. Very cool. Where can people find that?
There was it's on my Patreon.
Nice.
There was I think it was 3 turbo decks, and one of them was a Hogak turbo deck, which I played for my channel, which will be coming out next week, and that was real fun. Okay. Nice. Cabal Therapy.
Hexmage.
Let's see what they name here. I think it's probably the Hexmage is the name. Yeah, because that's the thing that just kills them right there and then.
I guess that is also a target for Needle if you want to be really aggressive.
No, I don't think Needle stops that, right? So it doesn't stop any mana abilities, right?
Is it a mana? Yeah, is it a mana ability?
Because the output of it is just mana. I think it counts as a mana ability.
Okay.
If it was like gain a life or something and add mana, then it isn't.
Wow, nothing else from
don't
them.
quote me on that, obviously, but
no, all good.
That is interesting. Okay, so we have like a combo lined up when we want it, really. So we can Probably Sylvan Scrying, because the crop rotation is better as a... Well, actually, no, if we do Sylvan Scrying here, that doesn't... Yeah, we probably need to play out... I'm just trying to think what we want this Sylvan Scrying for. Because it's mana efficient if we get the Sylvan Scrying. We could get something like a Sejiri Steppe.
Yes.
And then we just have an extra layer of protection for later on.
Yes.
So we can get through things like endurance. Or we could leave that as a surprise and they maybe think that their endurance is good enough. And we just like play a land and pass. That's another option.
If we scrying for, say, stage, do we play it this turn and use the petal, or would you play the City of Brass and keep the petal around?
I think I keep the petal around. I think.
Yep.
We know they have a Collector Ouphe, so we can use that to go and fetch the Thespian stage when the time comes. So it's a case of whether we scrying now or we just pass.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I wonder if they have.
now is interesting.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like opposition agent vibes.
Oh yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, I think it's worth playing around the opposition agent as well actually. Like we have this crop rotation ready to go. The other option is to cast a Sylvan Scrying. If they cast a opposition agent, we in response fire that off.
Yeah.
Okay, they're just going to cast it anyway. So now we just go and turn the mine into a stage.
Interesting they didn't do that on our turn. I guess they knew about the crop of the petal. Maybe they thought we would just cast the scrying. And
if they try and like wasteland our Thespian stage or whatever, they've got plenty of basics for us to copy anyway.
Correct.
Like, yes, it will cost us a Lotus Petal, but it keeps us in the game. Yeah, the timing on that opposition agent was interesting. I think too many people try and get you with opposition agents when you should just play it out at the earliest convenience.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that camp. I've definitely started playing a lot more sort of sorcery speed, like Orcish Bowmasters. And I find typically they're better. Same with endurance. Sorcery speed endurance is usually the best endurance.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I like about the green-black build rather than the rainbow build against opposition agent is you can sometimes bait people into opposition agenting with a fetch land.
Yes, yeah, very true.
So, all right, this is a guy we don't care about. That's exciting.
They're down to 0 cards as well.
All right, they're going to have to draw pretty hot to win this one.
Ooh, that's pretty nice. That doesn't change a whole lot, because it doesn't mean we can hold up Legolas's quick reflexes.
No, but it does mean we don't have to sacrifice 2 lands to make it. So we should play the Hexmage rather than the Thespian stage plan.
Oh, how many times have you accidentally tapped this for the wrong color, clicked yes, and then you haven't been able to go back?
Not so far.
Okay, good. Okay.
It's going to happen, obviously, but... All right. So our opponent's got 1 draw, and it needs to be, like, run afoul, I guess? Or Shoulder's Edict, that sort of
that makes
of card.
Yeah. Tough.
Yeah, right.
But very glad to get the win. Back on the...
Like, we had endurance covered as well, if they had that. We had it covered in 2 different ways, in fact, so...
Saito-san. Saito is a good friend of the channel, and usually plays Maverick.
All right. Maverick is okay, depending on the build. White removal is a real thing, as are wastelands. Interesting.
I don't mind this. Especially instant speed, stage, and also step.
Yeah.
Or even
No, I think this is...
scrying holding up.
Like, it's got a little bit of redundancy against wasteland because of the crop rotations. And if you are... If we're going to be playing against Maverick, then obviously you shouldn't necessarily base your entire decisions on that. But it means that we're not going to have to worry about counter spells. So crop rotations become excellent.
Savannah. Okay. So Sen is a big fan of Hidden Gibbons. If you know what that card is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a blast from the past. So it's a case of, do we want to preserve our life total, or do we want to preserve the amount of counters on a Gemstone Mine?
That's true. Maybe, especially against the Wasteland deck, it's better to play the Gemstone. Oh, Tithe Taker. Okay. During your turn, spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast, and activated abilities your opponents activate cost 1 more to activate, unless they're mana abilities. Okay, so it's pretty much a Thalia for us on everything.
Yeah, that's pretty relevant.
Yeah. So thankfully this doesn't affect Lotus Petal, but it does affect a lot of other things.
Yeah. Like, I don't think we need to do any, like... I guess we're not... Are we expecting them to wasteland us here as well? Okay. That's fine. We've got some lands anyway. We don't get to crop rotate this because of the Tithe Taker. Pretty cool. Not a card I've seen ever do anything before, so I'm pretty excited to see it do something, even if it's hurting us.
Yes. Playing the Petal out here so we can hold up crop.
Yeah, makes sense. So we have the turn 3 here.
Gosh. Yes.
Another Tithe Taker. Sure, I guess. They're going to have another wasteland, and
Oof.
that's what they've got, I suppose.
Look, at least it's not going at our actual combo, so I don't think we're too unhappy.
Like, you got to have a laugh and enjoy it sometimes, haven't you?
Okay, let's try this again. Honestly, I think we might as well just go and get stage right now. Or yeah, I think it's... Is it stage or is it Urborg? And then hold up the crop.
Well, we don't really get to hold up anything, do we?
No. Sorry, yeah, then we get to just crop for stage off this.
Like either is the same, right?
Um,
It'd be nice if we could get Yawgmoth, but we don't have one of those.
yes. Play the land.
We have the second Sea of Brass instead.
Yeah, because if we get
like,
stage, then we need the extra mana as well. So stage plus land plus depths plus a land, but if we get...
Well, no, because we can... So if we get the stage here and play stage, next time we play the depths and we just crop the mine into the Urborg.
There we go, yeah. Okay. Yes, but we have played a left turn, so we will pass.
How many more wastelands? Part of me wants to see another Tithe Taker in a wasteland, just for sheer enjoyment.
Okay.
Thalia.
Honestly, a Hexmage
Certainly.
would be... Ooh.
Yeah.
I think we're just too slow. We take 2, 4, 6, 7. 2-turn clock. I guess, yeah, we need to play...
So if we play Urborg or stage here, we can crop. No, we play.
yes.
We don't really have a good way around this. If we play the stage or the Urborg, then we crop rot the mine into something else.
Yep, for either of those, and then next turn play the depths and have the 20/20 open.
Yeah, and that should give us just enough time to close this one out. But it has to be the Urborg or the stage that we drop this turn because of the Thalia.
Yes.
And we have to crop rotate in our turn as well.
Yes.
Because of the other guys.
Nice.
I don't think it matters which one. Yeah, I think the Urborg is the right pick there because of the Thalia. It's just better to have mana producing lands and save the Dark Depths. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to do this and they're just going to plow it, and then we're going to have to start over again. We also have to make our guy at sorcery speed, which plays into Prismatic Ending.
Oh, the extra creature just might be it. Because we get to block 2, and then we still take, yeah. Tough.
2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, that is just enough to take us out on it.
Okay.
Tie Taker and stuff was pretty good. So shooting little creatures seems like a nice place to be.
Yes.
Duress. I don't really know very much about Maverick decks at the end of the day, so
Swords to Plowshares is the main hit, probably. But Inquisition also takes those along with, like, Knight of the Reliquary or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How much do you care about Surgical against, like, a Wasteland deck?
I like it against, like, Loamy Wasteland decks, but I'm not... Like, I guess they probably run Ramanap Excavator, but I think Pithing Needle was just a better answer for Wasteland.
Yes, that's a great point.
This matchup we have time with generally, so we don't need the explorations as much.
Cool.
Because they're not clocking us really quickly. So I think you can trim those.
That's a great point.
And Bojuka Bog probably don't need in this matchup. Sejiri Steppe's still fine, Ghost Quart's still fine, Boseiju still fine. Yeah, it's probably just the Bog. And that should be a clean 60, I think.
Yeah. Nice. That does take out the quick reflexes, but maybe that's not... Like, is quick reflexes better than Not of This World?
Probably. 0 mana is...
Yeah, I guess
but
probably at least 1 mana against them, which also... Yeah, I think both are going to be taxed, but I think that Not of This World is cheaper. So...
Yeah, I think we probably just want the Not of This World.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. One lander. One lander that allows us to turn 1 Sylvan Scrying potentially, but doesn't do a whole lot after that.
So we can Sylvan Scrying for a... the problem is we don't have the green mana, do we? I think we just need to go in for a better hand.
Yeah.
Because if we had, like, if this was a rainbow land instead of an Urborg, I think it'd be better. Speaking of rainbow lands,
Yes.
well, this is not really a playable hand, is it?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go a little bit deeper.
Okay. We can keep this.
Yeah. This is the turn 2. And we can hold up a crop rotation as well with the Lotus Petal. If we just throw back the rainbow lands, we can play around a wasteland a little bit. And we also have Sejiri Steppe off of that. So I think we throw back the rainbow lands and we just start out with Urborg Petal.
Yeah. Nice.
And then we can always, if they wasteland us, we can petal it into thing. And if they don't, then we have the Sejiri Steppe for the turn after.
Thoughtseize. Not too bad because we do have just crop potentially.
Yeah, they're going to take the Hexmage here, but yeah, that's fine. Like, not ideal, but we have the Urborg, which gives us the extra mana we need.
Yeah, so we do actually have the combo
Gemstone
this
Mine.
turn anyway, because we have 3 mana. Crop away the Urborg for stage using 1, and then 2 mana left over to copy. So they can't tap out here.
Yeah.
I assume.
They might not see it because it's a bit of an unconventional line as well.
Noble. Ignoble.
What do they have for 1 mana? Oh,
Okay.
okay. So
1, 2,
do our thing and have a
3. Crop this away. Go and get stage.
This is all face-up information.
Hey, there we go. Nice. Yeah, I guess potentially they just didn't see it, or they maybe needed to do this for 1 turn and then get something online next turn, or just see if we didn't see that.
They knew about the crop rotation though, so
yeah, pretty fortunate.
maybe they just didn't have anything and hoped that we didn't see it.
Yes. Yeah, I think that was the case. Running it back?
Yeah, I don't think we need to change anything on the draw really.
Do you have any thoughts on a card like Veil of Summer in Turbo Depths?
It kind of does similar things like Legolas's quick reflexes for us, or Not of This World. But this hand quickly is a good hand because it's a bit slow, but it's got extra redundancy. So we have 2 attempts at our combo in this hand against a deck that's not really that quick.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I think this is fine. And take a bit slow. But back to the Veil of Summer thing. So the main thing Veil of Summer will do for you is protect you from like a Brazen Borrower or something like that. And I don't think that's as good as just having a Legolas's Swift Reflexes, which can also help you get through blockers and still do the same. Or like a Tamio Safekeeping was like the other sort of version of that effect that can protect your lands as well. And I think protecting your lands is more important than protecting your hand a lot of the time.
Very true. I feel like a knight's going to come. Oh, no. Okay. That's okay.
This little guy.
Do you have any thoughts on being aggressive here with Petal into Hexmage into Depths?
Oh yeah, we definitely be aggressive here because we've got a backup combo already as well.
Tough.
And if they make us gain 20 life, then we gain 20 life. Okay, so the Tide Taker is a little bit annoying for this, but like I said, we have the combo again in a few turns. And if they kill this, we're gaining 20 life, so 20 life is good. That should give us more than enough time to assemble the combo again. And if they have an endurance, we can...
Is this just natural smoke?
Oh.
Tough.
Yeah, nice.
Very nice.
We didn't see any of that action in the first 2 games, so we couldn't really do much about that one. Right, I'm just going to quickly pop to the bathroom before this round.
Easy.
Be back in a sec.
A huge thank you to all of those who are watching. Of course, you can find Crucible of Words on YouTube, who does a lot of Depths content, but also other Legacy content, which, yeah, you should check out. It's really good. I really enjoy having it on in the background of working, and really cool to have Cyrus on. Hope you're all having a nice weekend. I will be back streaming probably next Monday. I'm away for work this whole week until Sunday, so I won't be streaming this week, but I do have 2 videos going up on YouTube. One, an Abzan Depths League, and then one, Mark Strassman. There we go. Mark Strassman and I talking about Legacy Punishing Mav. This hand does have access to everything, but it's a little bit slow. Not a great exploration hand either. So I'm probably pretty happy to mulligan this. Like a 1-lander with City. Does play around Wasteland a little bit with like land, Petal, hold up, crop. I think we can do this. Hey Saito, very cool deck. Yeah, the game 1 was rough as well. Like the creatures in the Wastelands are very strong. We are going to mulligan this.
All right. I'm back again.
All right. We've mulled to 6.
Have a look.
This is the 6. It's...
Bojuka Bog is not great, is it?
Yeah.
I think we can have better 5s than this.
Nice. I love it. Oof. I love a good
no
4.
Access to Dark Depths.
No.
Like 3-card hands we can win on, so...
Look, I'm all here for it. What do we got? We got Crop as 1 piece. We do have Crop, which is nice.
Yeah, so that gets us whichever piece we need when we draw the other piece. But like, this hand isn't great. Like I guess Hexmage is a turn to kill.
Yeah.
If we draw it. think it's probably better than going to 3 just to keep this one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
nice.
obviously exploration isn't great and we don't have lots of lands.
Yes.
So they're not going to have that many cards. So that's an easy one. And probably a Ghost Quarter can go as well. Just keep our colours.
I don't think we have the luxury of keeping it against like a Caracas or something.
Yeah.
Oof.
Let's just have a turn 1 combo us or something.
Yeah. Flooded Strand I always feel is a tough one for any sort of depths player.
Yeah. Like, blue-white is better than Bant. So let's not see any green sources, please.
Yes.
Bant is the worst because the Euro puts them above 20 life. And it's like, so it's 2 hits and then it just turns on all their sorcery removal and Teferis and stuff.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
real grim.
Do you think like Prismatic Ending is a reason not to play out the Petal? I also should have played the Mana Confluence in case they are.
Yeah, Flooded Strand into Basic Island means I think you want to keep the Petal in hand. If it was a non-basic, then I think you'd probably play out the Petal to play around Wasteland.
Double Island. Delver. Okay. Interesting.
It's a weird mono blue Delver deck.
Yeah. This probably makes me, unless we draw into another Petal or Depths.
Yeah, I
probably
think we
having
can afford to take it a tiny bit slower.
Yeah. Would you play out the Hexmage around days?
Yeah, I'd wait a turn and play.
Play Hexmage around days and then also have Crop Rotation around days?
We can crop rotate on our opponent's end step.
Ooh.
And then untap into
Nice.
the Hexmage.
I assume then there's no reason
Right.
not to play the Petal?
Spell Pierce is a thing that can happen. So I think we play the Petal here.
Nice.
So if they're mono blue, like Tempo Bills always used to play Spell Pierce back in the day. And if you're mono blue, you're going to have to go back to a little bit of old technology. Now, there might not be mono blue, but it just does seem weird having Island against Urborg Mana Confluence, I suppose. But
Yes.
why they got these fetch hands if they're only playing mono blue? It's very suspicious. We could always try and wait for disruption, but I think it's probably best to crop rotate still.
Yeah. I like
We've
that.
only got 6 discard spells. I guess something we do have to watch out for, if they are mono blue, is that Archmage's Charm that can steal like 1 mana creatures or 1 or less mana creatures.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. I think that's an instant as well, so I'm not really sure how we're supposed to deal with that one.
Look, on mono blue, like they could have like Spell Snare as like a way to answer like Orcish Bowmasters. I assume not. But yeah, it would be interesting if they are like just a straight mono blue. I haven't seen mono blue in a long time.
Yeah, I think like maybe 6 months ago or something, Brian played on his channel.
Oh, cool.
That was the last time I saw anyone playing it. All right, Force of Will.
Yeah, Spell Snare is probably my favorite counter spell. There's so many good hits.
It was a good one. I quite like the new Misstep as well. That's quite nice.
Yes. Stern Scolding?
It's just called something Misstep. Minor Misstep, maybe?
Minor Misstep, yes, correct.
Yeah, I like that one quite a lot. All right, a big boy.
Oof.
Yeah, so fetch hands and stuff are going to be fueling the Murktide and doing brainstorm stuff. So, I guess we can pay 30 mana and make a 2020.
Yeah, I think
we'll
we
only
have,
be at the low life total of about -50.
we sadly have to rip and then block the Murktide. I wonder if mono blue means they're on Stifle.
Oh wow, that could be annoying.
No backup creature. That's pretty nice. Ah. Tough. Okay. Mono blue.
All right, I guess we want some hand disruption so we can take out some of these annoying counter spells.
Similar to blue-red, I assume we can take out the bog.
Yeah, I would take out the bog. I have to imagine they are running wastelands as well. It'd be weird to play a Delver build without wastelands.
Yeah, surely.
Ishana's Tidebender. I don't even know what that is. That's scary.
It is a 3-mana card with flash that pretty much has Stifle. When ETBs, counter up to 1 target activated or triggered ability. If an ability of an artifact, creature, or planeswalker is countered this way, the permanent loses all abilities for as long as Tidebinder is in play.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Like Super Stifle for some stuff.
Yeah.
Huh. That's cool. Not great for us, but... So we need one more cut if we want this one in. So I think we can trim an exploration. We don't really... Or we can trim a Not of This World, depending on how you feel. Exploration is something that gets cut reasonably often. Because it's also something that's... When you're mulliganing, it tends to go back into the deck a lot more.
Yes. Yeah, let's see how this goes.
Like, double matchups are normally what you want to be playing against with this deck. It's the control decks and lands that you want to dodge. Any mana source is good here, but Wasteland absolutely wrecks us.
Yes.
Do you feel lucky, I guess?
I don't.
Do you think? I don't think we should keep a hand that dies to Wasteland against a tempo deck.
Oh, okay. Like it's slow, but it also it does have a pseudo out to Wasteland, but it's quite slow.
And like a counter spell on the Sylvan Scrying is going to be really backbreaking. Guess we're just probably going back to the well for more.
Oh, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Hexmage around days.
Yeah, sign me up.
Done. Nice.
What's quite funny is I hear you a little bit before I see what the hand's like. I've got a slight delay from audio to visual, so it's quite funny.
Yeah.
So I hear like the nice noise, like, oh, what's this gonna be? Right, let's see.
Okay. They're running Gutshot. Fairy Vandal.
Fairy Vandal.
Okay.
Days. What is Fairy Vandal?
So Fairy Vandal is a flying flash. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+2 counter on Fairy Vandal.
Okay. So they have a Wasteland, which is less than ideal for us. The Force of Will and the Days are kind of similar in terms of how they're going to impact us with that Wasteland involved. But if they Wasteland us, they can't Daze. So it's probably the Force of Will that goes so that we can draw like another Petal or something.
Yeah.
Have a shot on the next turn.
Nice.
Like, we can play around Days. We can't really play around a Force of Will. You just have to go into it. Fairy Vandal. That's interesting. I'll tell you an interesting trend I've seen lately is people running Thought Scours over Brainstorm. I've seen a couple of players running that, which is wild.
Thought Scour.
Wow,
okay.
Because they're decks that really use in the graveyard. I don't know, this is an interesting choice here actually, because they've got the gut shot. If we play out the Hexmage, they can just wasteland. They can just gut shot our guy, and then when we go to respond, they can wasteland it. So they kind of have us bested on that front. So we can't really play out our Dark Depths into the wasteland. But if we do that, they're definitely going to wasteland our Urborg. So we probably need to play the Petal and then Sylvan Scrying for another Urborg. Although, yeah, they can't daze this turn, are they? So that's pretty awkward for us. Like, they might just not wasteland, but if they wasteland the Urborg, if we don't play a land, then they're probably going to wasteland. If we do play a land, they're going to wasteland our Dark Depths. But if we then don't play a land but get another Urborg, are they going to wasteland our Urborg and just hold it for the Dark Depths? That's kind of awkward. We could always just go and get a Rainbow land and at least have access to green mana for later on.
Yeah.
But I think we definitely have to cast a Sylvan Scrying. It's a case of what we find with it is kind of big. I guess we can cast it, and if they wasteland in response, then that helps us out. Gives us a decision.
Okay.
Come on, opponent, help us out. Okay. No wasteland. So this is probably going to be the most significant decision of the entire game for us. Yikes. If we get the Urborg, they'll probably not wasteland here. So I think we have to get a rainbow land, which is awkward.
Yes.
Because we need to make sure we have colours after they wasteland us.
I was going to say, if we get stage and play it, they can't tap out for Fairy Vandal next turn as their threat, because then we get to untap and play the Dark Depths. And if they wasteland us, they can't get the Vandal down. So Thespian stage kind of keeps them from casting threats.
Yeah, I suppose so. It does give them the option of just hitting our Urborg, though. But I guess they don't know how important that Urborg is to us, and they're more likely to go after our combo pieces.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of like a poker moment, isn't it? Where you got to kind of see what your opponent's going to do. Because the stage is probably reasonable bait as well. Should we try the stage line? I think that's got the higher upside.
Nice.
I like your line there. Let's try that. We don't want our opponent to see us missing land drops necessarily either.
Yeah, very true. I think best case is just island pass here. There's island. And there's pass.
Okay.
Ooh. Ooh. Okay. No, we played the... No. This is actually tricky because you can't... I was going to say float mana, play Needle. But then you float black, but then you can't get the depths into play to float black.
Yeah, that's kind of the awkward... Like, we do have to play this Needle. And I don't think we can just play... Because they have the days and the gut shot, we kind of don't get to do... Yeah, I think we just play the Needle off of probably the Urborg, leaving up the stage, because they're more likely to wasteland an untapped land than a tapped one, if they do fire off the wasteland.
What if we play the depths and pass?
So they just have to constantly hold up the wasteland.
Yes. And then
if
if we draw into a... Yeah.
Mana source, and we can play the Needle. Yeah, that seems doable.
I'm just trying to like stall.
Yeah, I'm down for that actually.
Yeah, try to like stall them for as long as possible.
Yeah, like second wasteland is lights out at that point, but they don't have any cantrips in hand right now to find them.
Strange. Okay.
It's a really interesting decision point there. All right, so not a wasteland. So we dodged the worst case scenario.
So there's also the thought here of like, do we copy an island to see if they wasteland the stage? But no, because we know about days, so we don't really want them to.
They'll just get us if we do that. We need to draw a mana source here. Well, the problem is if we draw a mana source and play a Pithing Needle, they can daze it and still hold up wasteland.
Yes. So what if we tap mana with Urborg here, then play the other one, and then play Needle with 3 mana still open?
They can just daze that, though.
Correct. But then we just won't do anything, and the daze is gone.
And we would need to find 2 more mana to get the Hexmage into play. As well as have our combo up. It's really annoying that we drew a land.
That wasn't like a rainbow land or something.
Yeah.
I don't mind seeing if they want to do the days. If they want to trade a days, or if they see that line.
We're basically just trading. We're basically just using our needle as a duress in that point, really, aren't we? For days, but we're not really bothered by the days in their hand, are we? At the end of the day, like it's annoying, but the thing we're actually bothered about is the wasteland. So making sure that we can have our answer to wasteland is probably better. So I don't think it's a good trade for Pithing Needle for days. And at the moment, we're just sort of sat drawing cards as well. We're not under pressure, so we don't have to make a big play.
Yeah.
I think maybe we're supposed to pass here.
Yeah, it's a fair point, because it's pretty much a 2-for-1. Like, we lose the Urborg and the Needle.
Yeah, and so, like, we don't care about the days. We can play around the days in terms of winning the game. It's the wasteland that we're trying to stop. So I think we have to be a bit disciplined. We could draw another Pithing Needle, though. That'd be an okay draw. Oh, it's got flash, is it?
Correct, yeah.
It's not a lot of pressure. So it only gets bigger when they draw 2 cards in a turn, right?
Yes. So Brainstorm does trigger it here.
But it's only 1 trigger each turn, isn't it? So it can't grow loads.
Yeah, correct, which is kind of nice.
The Sejiri Steppe. It's not really what we were up for, was it? But it is a mana source. So that means if we play it this turn, next turn we can do the Pithing Needle line, right? Because we can use the Urborg.
Yeah.
The Pithing Needle around days. So it's a little bit slow, but our opponent isn't putting us under a great amount of pressure. Although this Murktide is probably coming into play next turn.
Yes.
But we can have potentially a 2020 next turn, which is pretty reasonable as creatures go.
They're fetching. They knew about the Brainstorm, of course.
The second wasteland here is devastating for us, but they don't. Okay, no pre-combat wasteland.
Gutshot us. Ooh, that's a pretty big one, just to get that extra damage. Wow.
I think it's so they can cast the Murktide, right?
Yeah.
While still holding something else up. What do they want that 1 blue mana for?
Ooh, okay. So here we want to float with the Urborg, and then play the Urborg.
Yep.
And then have a good
And then
think
put a spell on the stack, yeah.
Yeah. So Urborg, we want to keep this one. And then we want to start off with Needle. Yes,
we could play. Yeah, no, I think it is the Needle, right?
Yeah, if they daze
How
the
big is the Murktide?
Hexmage,
That's
6/6.
Yeah, okay. So it's the Needle, right?
Correct.
Because they have days and wasteland available, so we have to shut the wasteland off first.
Okay. Second days. Yikes.
It's kind of annoying for us. I don't think we have a choice other than letting it happen, and then next turn we go again, and we should. So we're going to take what 6, 7, 8, possibly
Got a
9 this
5.
turn, which means that we're down to 4. So if they can grow the fairy this turn and next turn, they can kill us. Just attack, please. All right, so they're going to grow the fairy this turn. We can also use Vampire Hexmage to remove counters from their permanents to buy us time.
Very true, yeah. Okay. They
Not really how you want to use it, but
2 top as well.
that's bad news for us. All right. Not a lot of life total left to work with. Another Hexmage.
Oof.
Yeah, I think they've just... Well,
Yeah.
I guess we... what do we do here? We try and make them make a mistake of some description. I guess we pay. Because like we're dead next turn anyway. So if we pay and then try a Hexmage...
Yeah,
there's
but
a
the
very
issue is
small
if they...
chance they could mess up.
Oh,
They shouldn't lose this game from here. Oh.
interesting.
Huh.
I guess then,
That's not what I
like,
was expecting to happen.
can you...
It's going to be the other days, isn't it?
You can't name Brazen Burrower, can you? No.
No.
It has
Well,
to
you
be,
can name it, but it doesn't do anything.
like,
So it's just...
Seal of Removal, maybe? Hmm.
Yeah, I think
They don't
Seal of
really
Removal is
care.
probably...
We don't care about Wasteland at this stage.
No, we're just sort of all in on our little friend here. It's going to be other days. I can feel it in my bones. Oh no. We make it... We either make it in their upkeep or we make it now to play around Wasteland.
Yeah, I guess it's upkeep. But then if they... Oh!
They could have a Stifle. But we're not beating that, so...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now they're just going to make us make the thing now. Interesting.
A Vapor Snag or something?
Old school.
Or just draw an
Like-
extra card, potentially, with Fairy Vandal. Yeah, there's a lot of outs here for them, sadly.
Yeah, like a mono blue deck's way more likely to be playing bounce effects as well.
Yeah.
Another Murktide. That doesn't do it. Okay, just have the Borrower. Yeah, that's us toasted.
Tough. Really
They had
tough.
an awful lot of interaction that lined up really well.
Yeah, especially
That
for
time
a
we drew the
mono
Urborg
blue
was
deck.
really irritating.
But that is life. Deck was sweet. Like, obviously not a positive record, but a lot of really cool decisions to make, which I really liked. And also some really good showings of also being aggressive with mulliganing.
Yeah, I think like you will lose some amount of games to your own deck, and that certainly happened to us here. But you know, that's kind of how a lot of combo decks fare at the end of the day. You're doing powerful things where you can kill your opponent. Like we can reliably make a 20-20 by turn 3 in almost every game. So there's going to be games where we're not going to have protection for it, and it's not going to be good enough. But sometimes they won't even have the removal, and they just get done.
Yeah. Sadly, not a league either to really get much of really any testing with exploration or Legolas's quick reflexes, but I can definitely understand their role in the 75 after you've talked about them. So hopefully in future, I can take this through a league and get to see their power, because that would be really cool.
Yeah. I think the last video that I put up on my channel maybe was this build, but I think I had 3 explorations and 1 less City of Brass. But other than that, it was this exact list. And we 4-1'd it. It was pretty good. I think the only thing we lost to was Death and Taxes, which can obviously be a bit of a problem. But I think the Death and Taxes matchup is kind of like coin flippy, because they don't have any of the sort of selection and stuff like that to really find the pieces they need.
Yeah, definitely. Someone in chat asking about Into the North, which I believe is search your library for a snow permanent or snow land permanent and put it into play tapped. I would assume just the flexibility of scrying, getting anything from Bojuka Bog to step to either piece of the combo is just a little bit better, like the flexibility of it, not having restrictions.
I can read you exactly what I said about on my primer if you like.
Perfect.
This card can only find Dark Depths and Snow basics, and it puts the Dark Depths directly into play, which is sometimes not what you want to do due to things you're playing around. The fact that it can only get half of the combo and not any of your other tools like Boseiju, for example, means it's a dead card in a lot of situations. Sylvan Scrying may only go to hand, but it will always find you the thing you're looking for. So I think that it's just worse than Sylvan Scrying, basically.
Yeah, I think on paper as well, it can seem like, Internet all seems great in this, but once you start playing, you can definitely see where scrying is just so good, especially in that game 1 or the game 2 of match 1 where we were able to scrying for Boseiju and Boseiju at the same turn, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, Boseiju was so good for this deck. It really made this deck a lot better, in my opinion. We just need an old border printing of it for paper, though. That's what I really want.
Yes, nice.
I've got all the old border printings available for this deck. So
nice, that's very cool.
My choice.
What about the cities? What cities do you have?
I think I've got a 7th.
Nice.
I haven't got like a super duper massive expensive one, sadly.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
But,
they all do the same thing. Let's be honest.
It's still an old border, so I'll take it. Maybe I'll
Yes.
colour in the border black at some point.
Nice.
Say like a £2 card or something anyway. So maybe time to get the Sharpie out.
Yes.
But I think next time I play, I might try the regular green black build again.
Cool.
And just see how that feels now. Because I've been playing Rainbow for like about a month now, so I'm going to go back to green black and see how it feels. So for that, it'd be basically the same list, except we'd strip out the sudden shocks for abrupt decays, and then we would get rid of the 10 rainbow lands, and we would be playing 4 fetches, 2 bayous, 2 basics, a Yawgmoth, and probably going up to the extra exploration again, or playing like another utility land, something along those lines.
Nice. I love that.
Because this build has one more land than the last build I played, used to playing the second city.
Nice. That's cool.
Maybe just a second Yawgmoth might be interesting as well, actually. Because that just gives you 5. It just gives you like 6 of the lands that allow you to make the turn 3 uncounterable 20/20 with the 3 land combo.
Yeah,
pretty nice.
Exactly. And I think that the like any sort of discussion around like, but it runs into submerge isn't like on like when testing and playing, it doesn't come up as often as people think it does.
Yeah, it did for a little bit when Up the Beanstalk just came out and everyone was trying to run as many 5 mana spells as they could with Up the Beanstalk.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's a great point.
People have kind of headed off of that now and aren't really doing submerge things, but it's still a thing you see. But playing around is kind of the same as playing around a borrower, which is a thing our deck is kind of designed to do anyway. So I don't think it's worth it. Like budget builds for this, you can play the what is it called? The fast land that's like if you have 3 or less lands, it comes in untapped.
Yes. I might even have a build of that.
Reasonable.
Yeah, Blooming Marsh.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good alternative.
Yeah, I remember seeing a 5-0. Yeah, it was a while ago now, but there definitely is a Blooming Marsh 5-0 out there, which is cool. And yeah, there's no big downsides. A lot of the times you don't have more than 3 lands in play, so that's always pretty cool.
Maybe the 3rd Bayou is what you want instead of the 2nd Yawgmoth in the green black build. Uncertain about that though.
Yeah,
it's possible, but I think like Yawgmoth is, a very high impact card when you get it going. But we didn't really use a lot of our sideboard today, did we?
No.
Really
A lot of it was like
we didn't really play against the matchup. We just sort of had the Inquisitions and Shocks, really.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, a huge thank you for coming on. I feel like it was definitely well overdue. Where can people find you?
Crucible of Words on either Twitter or YouTube is where I tend to go. But I post a lot of non-magic stuff on Twitter, so be prepared for that if you follow me on there.
Nice.
But YouTube, five days a week, I have a legacy video for you. So
very
cool. All I play, so I have no idea what other formats are like. So don't ask me about them unless they're Drinking Cube.
Nice. No, a huge thank you for coming on. It's been awesome. And yeah, hopefully not too long until we cross paths again.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having you on to do a Maverick video at some point on my channel, to be honest.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, definitely up for that. And to everyone in chat, a huge thank you for coming in as always. Yeah, I'm going to be off for a week, but back next week. And yeah, until then, I'll have a few videos going up on YouTube. But yeah, it'd be actually good to have some time away. It's always nice to like have a week break from Magic and then come back a little bit revitalized. So looking forward to that. Cyrus, a big thank you again. We'll catch you all next time.
Absolute pleasure. Bye-bye.